Democratic National Convention, day one, in the books. And the funny thing is, I thought what was really interesting about night one of the Democratic National Convention, the 180-degree difference between where the messaging from the Republican Party and the party of Trump versus the Democrats at the convention last night. Last night, I don't think there's any way to spin that last night was a fond farewell and a send-off for Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I think whether it was Hillary Clinton, Raphael Warnock, you look at the best speakers last night, Joe Biden certainly. And the sad thing is, you know what the worst part about watching Joe Biden last night was? Where was that during the debate?
Mm-hmm.
Because if he had been that guy during the debate, we're not having this conversation. But I think the fact that he was so unable during that debate with Donald Trump to perform at that level, it's unfortunate because, again, whether you're a party of Trump guy or whether you are a Democrat, I think it certainly is true and accurate to say Joe Biden has served this country with passion and selflessness for half a century, 50 years.
Yeah.
And then to have that, was it taken from him? It's time.
It's how the cookie broke.
Yeah. I mean, it's time. And so when you see Joe Biden in that light last night, where was that guy on debate night? And it's just really unfortunate. But you go back to before the convention started yesterday, Donald Trump on the stump again yesterday telling Kamala Harris, basically he said yesterday, go back to where you're from. Go back to where you came from. You know where she's from. Like, again, you have this unbelievable opportunity. He's going to be in Pennsylvania and North Carolina this week, two really important states in this race. Donald Trump has this opportunity, if he will just stay on message, to talk about the economy, to talk about immigration, to all this stuff. But he keeps going back to the fact that she's a crazy woman who we know where she's from, and he's talking about these birther arguments. And I struggle with this version of Donald Trump. And the question that I have is, if you're Donald Trump, do you truly believe the birther argument, which failed miserably with Barack Obama, do you truly believe that this is the way you want to be going, attacking Kamala Harris's parents and talking about where she's from? She's from the United States of America. And he's got to get off of that, because you then fast forward to the convention last night, and there's no doubt Hillary Clinton was the star of that. The people who spoke before Joe Biden, I thought Hillary Clinton crushed it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she went after Trump. She supported Kamala. She talked about her struggles, like everything that you needed from her. And Mrs. Monty and I, who are far from religious, like, you're never going, my wife is an atheist, and probably so. I think my wife enjoyed Raphael Warnock's speech. Like, we were joking about it. He rose up the parishioners last night.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, he did. I mean, the speech he gave about unity, and that's the thing that I think the party of Trump is going to struggle to rebound and defend out of this night. And I think it's going to be all 5 nights, because I think the Democrats are going to run this every night. Unity, moving forward, we're not going back. Unity, moving forward, we're not going back.
Well, that's been the successful playbook of our country for decades, centuries, right? Like,
yes.
you look at what our, what are the messaging our country thrives on, and the messaging has never been, hey, let's go back to what we've always done. That's not what the messaging been. The messaging has always been, whether in military conflict or in unity conversations, like whatever it is, it's always, hey, let's come together as a country, we the people, and let's move forward together and find a way to work it out. And I think that's where there is a stark contrast. Now, do I relate to a lot of those folks that spoke last night? No, I don't relate to a ton of them. I was alive and well for that Trump-Hillary debate all those years ago. I remember that stuff. I remember, you know, how Trump was with that. And I was watching her speak last night. And I said, yeah, I mean, I think she's done a good job letting that go and being okay with the fact that when she tried to win the presidential race,
Yeah.
was not her time. And I think she did a good job. Yeah.
I think she did a very good job. And I think, and I'm not trying to throw any water on their fire in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to dampen what the Democrats are doing. When do we find out who she is as a leader? When do we find out, is Kamala Harris actually capable of keeping this kind of unity through the first 100 days of her presidency should she win the election?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't think we're going to have an opportunity to know what she's truly like as a leader until one of two things happen, which is obviously you lose the race and you give your speech about that, or you win the race and obviously your first day in the White House.
Because it's tough to argue right now. She has been nothing short of a juggernaut, unifying and leading this last month. This was a situation with Joe Biden that could quite easily have gone horrendously awry. This could have been one of the worst situations for the Democrats that they'd ever seen. Yet she has taken this weight. She has carried it forward. Tim Walz was a brilliant pick to be her VP. I think you look at her messaging. I think she has been very smart, limiting her exposure to the media. Well, now that has to go away, right? I mean, once this convention's over, she's got to talk to the media almost on a daily basis. She's going to come out of this convention and go into a debate that will likely be Donald Trump's only chance to really get her on issues.
And maybe that's her best opportunity to show her leadership ability.
That really could be.
Because I do think that inside of debates, like when we're watching a debate as citizens who are going to vote in this election, like one of the things I look for is just the wherewithal inside of the debate. So like not the part about like getting frustrated with what your opponent is saying, but the ability to get torched, right? To get called out, to be held accountable inside of a debate for something you said, but then that ability to move forward with that in a way that isn't, hey, she's stupid and low IQ. And her too. Like I think that Donnie is going to have an answer for the 34 felony conviction.
But again, and I know I get crushed for this on this show every time we talk about it, the Republicans are straight fucking this up. What are you doing walking around with cups of JD Vance's DNA? Did you guys see that? You have Trump supporters walking around with cups of JD Vance's seed. I'm not trying to be disgusting or over the top. Google search it. That's a real thing that they're doing in the party of Trump. You want to talk about weird and all the people who say like this weird thing is stupid and it doesn't work? I think it works. I think it resonated. And I think JD Vance, the fact that you have supporters of that ticket carrying around cups that are supposedly his product, you don't think that's weird? And then on top of that, you have Donald Trump way off script, way off message, talking about birtherism. And he went back to yesterday. He went back to this thing about cutting gas prices in half again. Bro, you cannot do that. You have no ability to do that.
And again, if you would stick to your strongholds and then ask Kamala how she's going to pay for things, you'd be in a much better spot.
Yet he wants to talk about how she's only drilling because she needs to win an election. Joe Biden's been drilling for 3 years. Now you're talking about, you know, this he can't win on drilling. He's got to let that drill. The only angle on drilling he wins on is her flip on fracking. That's the only, because Joe Biden is setting daily records for barrels drilled.
Right.
He is setting daily records for exports. Like you can't hammer them on energy. Hammer her on fracking. If you want to beat Kamala Harris, stop talking about her lady parts or her birtherism and start talking about her flip on fracking. Right? You have JD Vance. And Trump People that are supporting Trump and Vance, can I just ask you, why is he standing in front of what was counted to be 180 people yesterday? Do you really need your VP candidate talking to 180 people?
No.
What are you doing?
That's an awful look.
It is a terrible look.
And then you want to say that Harris doesn't have big crowds, and they're absolutely going to use that against you. And this is why I say I agree with what you said 2 minutes ago. The Republicans are messing this up, and I think that they're not putting enough weight into, hey, how do we put ourselves in a strong position when we go to debate? How do we position ourselves in the conversation?
And you look at the crowd sizes Kamala Harris has drawn. You look at the crowd sizes Donald Trump has drawn.
Yeah.
Why are we putting J.D. Vance in front of 180 people? I don't understand that line of put him in. Sadly, J.D. Vance has to. I would not put him in front of a crowd or in front of the media. I would have him. If Donald Trump is not next to him, J.D. Vance should not be seen. I think he has this whole cross-dressing, eyelining, put J.D. Vance's seed in a little cup and walk around with it. I'm done. If I am the party of Trump, I am not letting this guy.
Yet, what do we have?
Because again, he laughed when he was asked the other day about him writing the forward in 2023 for a book on Project 2025, which is just not going away as an issue. He can't deny it because he wrote the forward for that book. Like you find a message to bring in to rein in this Project 2025 controversy.
Yes.
You haven't done that. Now what you did, the party of Trump, strategic brilliance, hotbed cities, states, counties during the Democratic National Convention. Be in Pennsylvania. I think he's got to get his ass back to Wisconsin and Michigan. Got to do it. I like that I think he's in North Carolina today. Right? Pennsylvania, North Carolina. But he's got to get on message.
He needs to build momentum. Like, he needs to find a way forward.
If she comes out of this convention with a 7 to 10 point lead, and I haven't seen the polls today yet, but if she comes out of this,
it's tough sledding, bro. That's going to be really, really tough.
Let's see. Lexi or Lex on TikTok. Stop spreading misinformation. Donald Trump has said most propositions in Project 2025 are far too radical. Then why is his entire former staff and the Heritage Foundation making up Project 2025? And why is J.D. Vance writing forewords for books? And why is J.D. Vance meeting with people from Project 2025? Why are the people at Project 2025 getting caught on undercover tape talking about how they've already staffed up the Trump administration in anticipation of him winning the election? You can't run from Project 2025 if you're the party of Trump. I would tell you embrace it and put a spin on it that can help you.
Yes.
Because just as Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are saying we can't go back, Donald Trump's the devil. What is your message on that? You're not messaging. You're talking about her being a woman who has a birther problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would be saying stuff like, okay, so if we agree we can't go back, then I don't want to hear about convictions. I don't want to hear about, Project 2025. I want to hear about how you're going to pay for, all these, the housing program we discussed last week or yesterday, whenever that was, or any of this other stuff. And that's why I say, like, I think it's so fascinating on the channel. Every time we talk politics and we kind of go through this and have the conversation, people lose their minds and say that, we're pro-Dem or we hate the Republic. It's like, dude, like, it has nothing to do with like or dislike, and it has everything to do with, hey, the party of Trump and really Donnie himself are not doing what they need to do to win the election.
And the problem is, again, and you look at comments on YouTube, TikTok, you look at the comments section, and you quickly understand that they're like, it was sad to me yesterday. I was reading the filtered comments on YouTube on our playlist. Because we try to separate all of our politics stuff on YouTube because people tend to lose their mind on it. There were over 2,000 filtered comments in our political playlist. The most heinous things about Kamala Harris. The most heinous things. And I don't understand why that has to be the message. Why are you like banned? Because what happens is if you leave a comment on YouTube, they're going to filter it if it violates rules. Do you understand how many users got banned for things they said? Got kicked off of YouTube for things they said in our comment section. Why can't we just have an open, honest conversation about the fact that the party of Trump is making serious strategic mistakes in their efforts to win this election? Kamala Harris, you don't have to like her. She's running a really good campaign. She's got an unbelievable campaign staff that she listens to.
Yeah, I think that Kamala gets a lot of hate because she is mixed race and because she is a woman. And I think
agree.
that
and call it what it is. She takes a lot of heat because she's black. She's a black woman of power.
Yeah.
And that has never played well in this country. That is for certain. So now we're getting Donald Trump yesterday talking about how, like, where she's from. What does that mean, man? Where she's from?
Like, that goes against the grain of what our country was founded on. I mean, do we not remember that this country is a melting pot, that it doesn't matter where you're from, that you can...
But where is Melania Trump from? Where's the Trump family from? Where is J.D. Vance's family, his wife, her family? They're all immigrants. Melania Trump is an immigrant. J.D. Vance's wife is an immigrant. But you're going to attack Kamala Harris and where she's from. Do you understand the hypocrisy that you are putting forward? And attacking women is not going to win you this election.
No.
Attacking black women is not going to win you this election. And frankly, it's why we're seeing the gap close. You're leading in Georgia by most accounts. You're attacking the governor there. Your supporters are putting death threats forward. Your supporters are saying he's going to jail when you get elected. Do you really think this is helping your case in Georgia? A state that I think all of us would agree, whoever wins the election is probably winning Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that Raphael Warnock is a senator from Georgia should have been the shot over the bow you needed. The idea that Rudy Giuliani is trying to file bankruptcy after losing a lawsuit in Georgia should have been the shot over the bow you needed. So attacking a black woman of prominence does not endear you to women and women of color in the black community in this country, who I think are going to play significant roles in this election. It's this whole thing that
Not
you
smart.
can't, like this whole, she chose to be black. Kamala Harris never made a decision and said, well, what time is it? Well, it's 12:37. I got 3 minutes until I have to be black.
Does that mean she chose to be a woman too? Or
what
are you talking about, dude?
You don't choose to be black. You don't choose to be white. Right? It's not where you come from. She was born in the United States of America. She's a United States citizen. And I think you've got to get over that. She chose to be black. Like, I look at this Taylor Swift situation. Donald Trump, was it the right, if you're trying to get elected president, sharing fake AI images, do we feel like that's the right avenue to pursue to get elected president of the United States?
Hell no.
And then on top of that, it's Taylor Swift. Like, is there a bigger juggernaut than Taylor Swift, who was allegedly targeted in her latest shows? You're picking the wrong fight here, man.
And I wouldn't sue if I were her. I would.
You would not sue.
No, I would not sue. I think that she stands to lose too much. Like, just in time, energy put in. Like, she's a billionaire. I have no doubt. Like, she's, the money she's made is stupid money at this point. But so it's not a money issue. I think she could easily take him on financially. I think it's more of a, hey, do you want to be seen in a negative light and as a person that's taking Donnie on 1v1? Or do you want to be seen as pro-woman, helping make change in the country, moving your following off of TikTok into the voter booth? Like, that's where I would be telling her, hey, you know what? Let's not sue him. Let's go and do this if you want to get back at him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree, Mike Smith. Trump said yet another thing pretty much belittled the military. As a vet, I can't stand him for what he said about McCain and other military people. Do you guys understand when you're talking about how it's better to win a civilian honor than a military honor? Because when you win the military honor, you're either dead or you're shot up with bullets. Somebody get this guy a message.
It's terrible.
You can't, and then like Mike Smith said here, then you throw that on top of what he said about John McCain, who's only a hero because he got captured.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's mind blowing to me.
Well, it's just surprising that he would think that that's okay. Like I understand if you've got,
but he does. But wait, I don't think he thinks about that stuff. I think he's just riffing.
Yeah.
And he's trying to build up the person that he's talking about.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think he gets caught. And I think that's why you've got to. And again, I as somebody that I have, and I think I've talked about this, as somebody that's a registered Republican, he's not my candidate, but he's not a Republican candidate either. You would never hear the Republicans of my life, the Bush family, the Reagans,
the McCains.
You would never hear this. When you serve the military, that's sacrifice with you and your family. And I don't care if you're J.D. Vance, who was 1 year in, Walls, who was 24 years in. I don't care. Just the fact that you enlisted is a huge sacrifice. Then to serve in a forward territory and be wounded or captured. Do you understand the pain that is for not even that soldier, but imagine the insecurity of not knowing. How many families have no idea where the remains of their loved one are in Vietnam? How many times can we say thank you to the men and women, and really the men, but the women as well, that served in World War II on those beaches, that never even got off the boat? Not enough. Never. We can't say thank you enough. Like,
nothing repays it.
Then to belittle them because they got shot, to belittle them because they were a prisoner of war, is, there comes a point where you just can't whitewash that anymore. And it's why I continue to say this election will be won and lost on Donald Trump getting back on message. And I just don't think he can do it. I think Donald Trump has, I think he's become, I don't buy the dementia card with Donald Trump, but
that's a little strong.
He's a cranky old man at this point who has very thin skin, and he doesn't want to. I imagine the Democratic National Convention is painful for him, because by all accounts, he watches every second of every speech. I imagine that's very painful for him.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that he's somebody that, doesn't prioritize, how much value there is in professionalism. And that's the thing that really stands out between the two candidates. At least, like, on the Democratic side, you can disagree with their policies, you can say certain things, but they're professional about it. They're reasonable, they're respectful. And with Donnie, I can't relate to calling someone stupid or low IQ, or like telling someone to go back where their home is. Like, it just seems
tough.
It's hard, man.
It's tough. It's very difficult. And again, he's got to go on message. Like, the economy thing's tough for him because the economy is booming. Inflation's tough because it started under him. He talked about over the weekend in Wilkes-Barre, he talked about the deficit and these COVID funds that were given to every American. Why can't I think of what the COVID check was called? Stimulus checks. And he was criticizing Joe Biden for the stimulus packages. Well, where did the stimulus packages start? Donald Trump started stimulus packages.
Remember, they were all signed by him.
But now and it was, remember, he joked about how everybody's getting an autograph. And Yet he's ripping the Biden administration for doing stimulus. If I'm Donald Trump, here's what I'm talking about. Obviously, I'm going to talk about immigration. It's huge for my base, and I think it's huge for parents in this country. I would stay away from the crime thing because I think the Democrats are just beating you over the head with the fact that there's no immigrant crime. There's beating you over the head. I would talk about the border and I would talk about immigration. I would talk about her failed foreign policy with the pullout of Afghanistan. There's no defending that. But now if you continue to run out this, you're not a hero, you got captured, that's why you're a hero, this anti-military shit that you're running out, it's going to devalue, hey, they pulled out from Afghanistan and got ourselves, our allies, and murdered, and a bunch of our equipment lost. Yeah, but what did you say about people that were caught or shot? Or it makes that tough. Again, it's why I would never let J.D. Vance speak on his own again, because J.D. Vance attacking Tim Walz in his service and saying that he was he essentially called him fake. Dude, you wrote press releases in an office for a year. I'm not mocking his service. You were in a foreign territory for a year. Tim Walz gave 24 years of his life to this country. And now you notice this has all died down because he didn't retire to avoid deployment. So if I'm Donald Trump, I am on the border. I am on her failed foreign policy. And I am on the fact she has I would be hitting her as somebody with no leadership experience.
Yep. But will they do that? Will he listen?
That's where I would be. Because he's got to stop playing to his base and he's got to start talking to the undecided American. And I think the undecided female and minority voter in this country is who's going to decide this race. He's going to lose the popular vote. I think we all agree with that.
Yes.
But as a guy in the comments section yesterday said, you guys don't know anything about elections. Have you ever heard of the Electoral College? I got news for you, Jack. If the election was today, she'd win the Electoral College. He has plenty of time to change that, and it starts September 1st in that debate.
Yes, sir.
But make no mistake about it. He's going to give another speech today in North Carolina. And if he does the same thing today he did yesterday, he's going to lose this election. Because she'll come out of this convention, if you're not careful, with a 10-point lead. Because last night at the DNC was nothing short of a rousing success. Sold out crowd. The protesters, here's the other thing. There were no anti-Kamala protests from Trump supporters. It was a Israeli-Palestine protest, and it was small. And so Trump had been talking about how his supporters were going to protest. They didn't show up. And that's a little concerning. Yeah. My guess is night 2 will be better than night 1. My guess is, I'm very curious if we get, because she's going to continue to put celebrities and performers out. I'm very curious to see where Taylor Swift, because she may have responded already. She kind of had a Potomac picture put on her timeline. So I don't know that she's fully responded, but I'm curious if there's some rumors around that she might show up and perform at the DNC.
I mean, I think because of the level she's at, she has some responsibility to take a side. I mean, you're Taylor Swift, man. You are talking about someone who's got billions of fans, legitimately, like global icon, like biggest star we have in music type level. So it would be irresponsible for you to stay out of this. And especially now that, Trump is using your name, image, and likeness to push himself forward. You can't just sit on the sidelines.
Not anymore.
But I would not get involved legally. I would not do that.
I don't know that she will. I'm not saying I think she will. If she showed up at the DNC, I would not be shocked. Because you don't put out fake images like that and think nothing's going to happen. Because, I mean, good Lord, half the people he tries to use their music sue him for it. Like, it's not, he knew, I think he knew what he was doing. I think he wanted the publicity. But
Yes.
see, let's get a couple of comments. Let's see. The Obamas are on today. And I'm telling you, the momentum's only going to ramp up.
Roundly supported from both sides of the aisle.
Because I don't think people understand the power that the Obamas still have. Calford, without the Electoral College, I don't think the Republicans would ever win. It'd be tough. It would be tough. I think it'd be very tough. Mike Smith, really must have been one of the days I was out of town and missed the show. What do you mean? When you say that? I don't know what you mean by that. Brandon Butler gifts 5 Monty Show memberships.
Go, baby.
Thank you, Brandon, as always. Let's see. James, Monty is being objective. Has pointed out both sides have made mistakes. We may have to do like Monty Brewster and vote none of the above. I am not on one side or the other. I'll be honest with you. And I've said this before. I can't see myself voting for Donald Trump. I think he's too old. I think he doesn't give a damn what happens in my home or my neighborhood. And I don't think Donald Trump is going to show up and help middle-class Americans.
Agreed. He
can't. And the other problem is I'm too educated about the issues. I know he cannot cut gas prices in half. It's not possible. I know he made a deal, like he's trying to hang Joe Biden on the price of oil and gas. He made a deal to purposefully raise gas prices through oil prices once he got out, because what he did is he made a deal with OPEC to drive up production while he was in office, and then it mandated that they lower production when he got out of office.
Mm-hmm.
He made that deal.
Dude. He is a schemer.
I want somebody, and this is really where the rubber meets the road. I want somebody that is pro-America, not pro-self. I want somebody that's going to watch out for middle America, not just Wall Street, but Main Street. I want somebody that's good. We need to unify. We have too much strife. We have too much anger and violence based on your political belief in this country. We need to love each other again. We need to be, it's what Raphael Warnock said last night. And this is what I say about the hypocrites. They call themselves conservative Christians. You really can look at the things that Donald Trump has said and done and believe that those are based in the Bible and that he's the chosen one from Jesus Christ. There's nothing that Donald Trump has done that's based in Christian beliefs or doctrine.
I was going to say, I think everything goes against what Christian beliefs and doctrine would tell you to do.
There's nothing that is being said about Kamala Harris that is Christian or in Christian doctrine if you are one of those, conservative Christians. Calling her horrendous names, hoping for her demise physically and politically is not Christian. So you believe your Jesus Christ would be like, yeah, let's do X, Y, and Z. You believe that your Jesus Christ would be here talking about the fact that she has a vagina and so she can't be president, or that she is X, Y, or Z, so she can't be president. You really think that's how Jesus would handle this election?
That's a little rough, bro. Come on.
The Christian hypocrisy in politics is offensive and outlandish.
Well, and I think the other problem is it's what, guys like Donnie use to get people. And I hate it. I wish it wasn't the case, but it is. It is. Hey, we're the Christian ticket. He said multiple times in his speech, does it all the time. I love my Christians. Okay, well, that's great. But how are you putting the country first? How are you, how are you, again, it's holding the office of the White House and putting the country first and protecting the people. I just don't think that he represents that. And I don't know how anyone could.
The Bible tells you to love your neighbor. How many people are doing that? And I'm being serious. Love your neighbor. You're a Democrat. They're a Republican. They're a Republican. You're a Democrat. You're a Republican. They're a Democrat. You're going to insult them. You're going to hope for their ultimate demise.
You're going to call them low IQ.
Come on. Like, this is not who we are as a country. I'm telling you. And maybe I am idealistic and maybe I'm utopic. I don't know. I still to this day believe that we can come together as a country. I still believe to this day that we can support every one of our neighbors. Whether you are next door to me or you are a continent away. I believe that we can support our neighbors. I believe that we have to give people the benefit of the doubt. I believe we have to stop attacking people we have never met and know nothing about simply because of a flag hanging in front of their house.
Mm-hmm.
That's not who we were. It's who we are, but it's not who we're going to be. I believe that.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm crazy, man. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But until we become Americans and until we stop being Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, until we're all Americans, these elections will continue to divide us. And let's also be very clear before I get out of here. We're allowing ourselves to be split.
Yes.
Let's not make any bones about that. We are allowing this to happen. We are complicit and we are actively engaged in the fracture of Americana.
And the pain you suffer is on us.
Awfully hard to argue with that. Awfully hard to argue with that. Always good to see you. Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, good to talk to you today. YouTube, good to talk to you today. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.